good evening. It's Monica from Life is Art, and it's Wednesday. Let's create. We are joining together this evening. We're going to make a card. We are creating an offset gate flap card, and it is a quick, simple, fun fold, and I think you're going to enjoy it. It's one that's easily recreated, and that is awesome, right? It's nice to be able to see fun cards come together, but it's even better when you can recreate them yourself and share with somebody else. So we're going to be creating today using the Otterly Adorable Designer Series paper collection. We're also going to be using the beautiful butterflies stamp set, and let's get started. We're also going to be tossing in some foil paper just to make it a bit pizzazzy. Now I have here a piece of Lost Lagoon cardstock. It has been cut to 11 inches by 4 1/4. So it's going to go this way, but my screen is slightly narrower there. We'll give it a little bend. So 11 inches by 4 1/4. If you're joining me live this evening, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. If you're watching later on replay, you can just drop a comment. I love to hear from you. I see that Laura is here. Good evening, Laura. And Heather is here too. And we are going to start off with our 11 by 4 1/4 piece of Lost Lagoon cardstock, and we're going to do some scoring along the 11-inch side. Going to line it up here along my scoreboard, and we're going to score it at 3 3/4. So 3 3/4, and then we're going to score it at 9 1/4. 9 1/4. And that's it. That's all the scoring that we are going to do for our entire project. I told you it was going to be fun, it was going to be easy, and it's going to be replicatable. That's the word I'm looking for. All right, so we have scored it at 3 3/4 and 9 1/4. I'm going to flip it over so that we have the bump side on the inside, and I'm first going to fold in the left side, which is the larger panel of our gatefold card. If you're familiar with a gatefold card, then you know that a gatefold has a back panel and 2 sides that fold in. Typically, they meet together in the center of the card, but we're going to have ours offset, so it's going to be a little off to one side. And so I folded in the left side, which is the 3 3/4 inch piece. And now I'm going to come over here and fold in the 1 3/4 inch piece. And what I want to do is I just want to make sure that those 2 pieces butt right up against each other before I go ahead and push down on that score line, because sometimes there's a little bit of a gap, but I don't want to leave a gap on my card. And that is all the folding we're going to do for this card. Fun fold. I always consider a fun fold is sort of a simple fold, whereas a fancy fold has like mechanisms and more things that you have to do. Does that make sense to you? So this is what I would classify as a fun fold. Now on the inside of this card, I want to add a panel, and the panel is going to go in this large space here. It's going to provide our surface for writing our message. So I have cut a piece of basic white cardstock that is 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and I want to add a little bit on here, a little bit of detail. So from our beautiful butterfly stamp set, we have this nice little scatter stamp that is just a collection of dots. I've got that loaded up on my block, and I'm going to use some pretty Peacock ink for this. This is one of the coordinating colors, and it looks nice with the Lost Lagoon. It's just sort of a bit darker than Lost Lagoon. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm just going to add a little bit of detail onto the sort of opposite corners of my card. And you can spin this little stamp around. I'm going to just move so I can see better what I'm doing. And I just want to add a little something on here, just to jazz it up so it's just not a empty blank piece of paper. I could stamp a sentiment in there as well, but I think I'm just going to go with this fun stamping. So there, we've just created a little bit of pattern in the corners. Easy peasy. That is the goal of our card this evening. Okay, so that was the pretty peacock. Then we can go ahead and we can adhere that to the center panel, the large panel in our card, and our finished card will be a 5.5 by 4.25. So it will fit inside of our standard envelope. And there we go. That's the inside of our card complete. I'm not adding any sentiment in there. I want to leave maximum room for writing a message. So on the front of the card, I want to create some panels. And I want my panels to kind of coordinate. And so I chose some patterns from the Otterly Adorable collection. And I chose this lovely pebble pattern. It looks like little river rocks. And then I've got this lovely leafy, seaweedy, underwater vegetation kind of pattern. And then we've got some Otterly Adorable otters playing in the water. So those are my 3 patterns that I'm going for. Now the first 2, the pebbles and the leaves, have been cut to the same size. And these are 1.5 by 4 inches. Okay. And then my third piece is 1 3/4 by 4. So 2 that are 1.5 by 4 and 1 that is 1 3/4 by 4. The first one, actually all of them, are going to be matted. I wanted to add a little extra on here. So I'm going to mat them with some brushed silver foil cardstock. And it's got a lovely texture on it. It comes in a pack of gold and silver. So I have cut these out to be just a little bit bigger than my designer series paper. So I have 2 that are 1 5/8 by 4 1/8, and I will be posting all the measurements. So 1 5/8 by 4 1/8, and 1 that is 1 7/8 by 4 1/8. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to layer these up. So the 2 narrower ones are going to get the vegetation and the pebbles. And we're just going to center that, and that's going to leave a nice little edge of silver all the way around our pattern paper. Center that on there. And then let's grab our pebbles. I'm going to use my pokey tool here to help me out with that. And line that up. Center it on there. And then the last piece, the otters, they're going on the wider piece. And there we go. I should be using my take your pick tool, but it's up in the container and I didn't grab it out. So I'm using what's handy on my table, just sitting here waiting. All right. Now, because this is 5.5 inches, I was doing some math today. This is 5.5 inches. So to divide it evenly into 3 doesn't work. So what I decided was the wider one is going to go in the center. And then my 2 narrower ones are going to go on either side. And I'm going to start putting these on first with the one that goes on the flap, because the one on this little flap here has to get centered on the flap. And so I've already gone ahead and put my adhesive on there. And then I'm going to line this up and stick it down. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me a visual idea of how much space I need around the outside edges. Then I'm going to come around to the other side and I'm going to stick this one on, keeping that spacing in mind. So I'm just going to scooch that out of the way. But I'm going to keep my spacing in mind that I had at the other end, and I'm going to mimic that on this side. Okay? Because we're limited on this side how far away from the edge we can put this. This one has a little bit more leeway. But by putting those two outside ones on first, I'm going to ignore the fact that there is a split here, and I'm going to center this in between those two panels so that when my card is closed, it actually just looks like a card front. It doesn't look like it has any other way of opening other than opening as a top fold card. So it's kind of a little tricky thing that we're doing here. We're kind of doing an optical illusion. So then our final panel, I'm going to turn it this way to make it easier for me to see. I'm going to line it up in between like so that we've got them all equally spaced. And there we go. Now, when I was cutting out my otter paper, I wanted to make sure that I had like a full face of one of the otters, and I wanted it to be in the upper half because down here some of this is going to get covered with our sentiment, which is our next step. So I've got a piece of basic white that I have cut to 3 1/8 by 1 inch. And I'm going to use one of the sentiments from that beautiful Butterflies. It says, "Time to Celebrate." It's got beautiful font, some nice scripty letters going on there. And I'm going to ink up my pretty Peacock again. Ink that up. I'm going to come close to myself so I can see. And then I'm going to stamp my "Time to Celebrate" right there on my basic white. Like so. And then I have another piece of Lost Lagoon. This has been cut to 3 3/8 by 1 1/4. And that will allow me to have a nice little edge. Oh, and I didn't put adhesive on this yet because that can interfere with your stamping. So you'll notice everything that I had pre-adhesived, except for maybe that inside panel, didn't require any stamping. If you're going to do stamping, leave your adhesive off till that's done, because it could affect your stamping quality if the stamp sort of detects, not that a stamp can detect, but a lump or a bump underneath, you can get some uneven stamping. So there, we've gone ahead and centered that on the Lost Lagoon. And what I want to do is I'm going to use my mat to help me with this. I'm going to line it up on here so that this bottom corner is lined up. And I want to stick this on about 3/4 inch in from the edge and about 3/4 inch up. So we're going to come in 3/4 inch and up 3/4 inch, which means that if I attach it to my right hand little flap here, I've only got about 3/4 inch that's actually touching this flap. So to help me with that, I'm going to line it up on my mat, and then I'm only going to apply adhesive at the very end, and then no more than 3/4 inch from the end. Okay, and that will give me the best coverage without ending up with glue trying to stick my card shut. So let's line ourselves back up on there, nice and straight. We're going to come up 3/4 inch and in 3/4 inch. Make sure that it's sitting level. We're going to stick that on there. So now you can see this whole panel will open, and let's add some bling. So I've got here something simple and easy, which is the basic rhinestone jewels, and you can see that I am running out of these because they are so handy. They work for just about anything, and they get used a lot. So let's add a couple of these little guys in here in the water so that it kind of has that splishy, splashy, sparkly look to it. So we'll add a couple there, and then we'll add one of the bigger ones down here, kind of punctuating our word celebrate. And there we go. That is our completed, let me get this right, offset gate flap card. I just came up with that name. I don't know what it's called, but I think it's cool. I love how you're getting some sparkle and shine from that brushed silver foil that's underneath those pieces of the designer series paper, and then also a little bit of sparkle from those basic rhinestone jewels. So we started out by folding up our Lost Lagoon cardstock, adding in our panel, a little bit of scatter stamping from that beautiful butterflies stamp set, and then of course adding in our designer series paper, our silver foil, and then our stamping of our sentiment, Time to Celebrate. And I like that this is kind of a neutral kind of card. It's masculine or feminine, and that Time to Celebrate can really be for anything. This could be anniversary, this could be birthday, this could be a new job, this could be anything. Time to Celebrate, and it gives lots of room for writing. So if you were giving this as a group, you could even add another panel here for extra signatures. So I think it's very versatile, very fun, very easy, and it looks beautiful. So I hope you enjoyed seeing that come together. I hope you're inspired to create one of your own, and if you do, be sure to snap a photo of it and pop it in the comments where I post the pictures of my card, and then we can all see and be inspired by your artwork as well. All right, have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we will see you again soon. Toodaloo, bye.